It is officially June, and we all know what that means. This season of Pride Festivals has begun. So we will be making a special mini-series of episodes regarding Pride. But as we all know, Pride was not the massive public and commercial event. Pride is usually originally cited as starting as a result of protesting members of the lgbtqia+ community pushing back against the status quo of the mid-20th century Western traditionalists for equal rights and visibility. And though, even in 2024, things are not quite perfect, are they? There has been huge change in the general public opinion regarding people that identify as a member of the lgbtqia+ community, and with these changes in public opinion evolving over time, so too has the face and meaning of Pride, for better or for worse. Pride now looks more like a week-long street or public festival with major commercial and political sponsorship from industries and groups that once shunned homosexuality, queerness, and anything non-binary. Is it just another highly commercialized festival co-opted to make profit? And is this the existence of Pride and the lgbtqia+ community public visibility causing wokeness and ruining tradition? These are some of the topics we discuss in this series. We hope to encourage you to keep this conversation going by sharing your thoughts in the comments section below. Okay, so gay history before Pride in a nutshell. So typically you run into two major groups of people today when it comes to the understanding of homosexual, queer and trans pride in history. One is mostly under the impression that prior to the recent change in public opinion towards the communities, most cultures and periods through history have discriminated against anything that didn't look like a traditional relationship between men and women. The other has people mostly under the impression that prior to the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire was a world where love was love and sexuality wasn't a static cultural concept. Reality, as far as we can tell from records at least, lay somewhere in between. In terms of the tolerance towards the lgbtqia+ peoples in the past and in far-off lands really varies based in the era and culture we are talking about. However, a common pattern in tolerance often had less to do with the culture and more to do with how wealthy, influential and other powerful the individuals were, dictated how long others would tolerate the behavior. Meanwhile, in the same place, people from the lower classes or without citizenship that were members of the community could find themselves discriminated against and living in conditions where risk of violence was high and their entire lives at that. A good example of this is somewhere in late 1st century BCE, where Emperor I, during the Han Dynasty, appears in a legend where he and one of his politicians are taking a nap together. Emperor I wakes up to find Dong Xian, the politician or boyfriend, don't tell anyone guys, still sleeping nice and soundly while resting on Emperor I's arm. Ooh, behave. Rather than wake Don Xian, the Emperor cuts his sleeve off and carefully slips out, leaving Don Xian to nap. When his palace staff see the Emperor walking around with one sleeve cut off, they too cut off one sleeve in a show of loyalty to the Emperor. That's how you do it, guys. It is well recorded that during the Han Dynasty, many of the male members of the royal family had same-sex lovers. However, among the average people, the tolerance for homosexual relationships could be viewed as taboo. The emperor was given a pass for the reason they were so powerful to have his affection, and it was beneficial to you and possibly your family. The only other condition the emperor would need to make sure of having an heir, but this could be worked around through adoption in many ancient cultures. Even the ancient Greeks had their rules about homosexuality most modern people are unaware of. Homosexual relationships were acceptable between an older dominant male and a younger, more submissive male. If you were both too close in age or too old or powerful to be seen as submissive, you could get into a lot of trouble. This is why in Greek myths that include gods like Apollo having a same-sex relationship with a mortal, once the mortal reaches a certain unspecified age or point of maturity, Apollo stops lusting for them, either ending in the mortal dying, turning into something like a flower, or if you're lucky, having Apollo to be your godly wingman. So while it is true that until about 1000 to 500 years ago, even the Christians' outlook towards the LGBTQIA+ was less pointed and negative, most societies during the proto-ancient classical and even the Middle Ages still expected adults to eventually copulate, have sex, and produce children with at least one partner of the opposite sex. They were typically bound to through some sort of marriage ceremony. This was seen in many cultures, specifically those with major Greco-Roman influence, as maturing in full adulthood. You didn't have to like your bonded mate, you didn't even have to remain faithful to your bonded mate, you just needed to make sure you got some babies out of them, together to keep the species and or bloodline actually going ahead, and keep any affairs on the DL. Those that did not do so would usually be discriminated against, shunned by their community, exiled from their city and or nation state eventually, unless they joined the clergy or priest class. From the 11th century, Shiism, between Catholic and Orthodox Christians, and the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century occurred the race to separate each sect from each other's ritually, dogmatically, and even culturally. This resulted in a lot of minority groups becoming sinful examples of the other. Ooh. And many things once overlooked, I didn't see it if I didn't see it, as a dalliance or an indulgence to be forgiven started to become morphly sinful behavior that might require some kind of public, civil, or religious punishment if discovered. Which still quite happens today, doesn't it? To grossly oversimplify this, being part of the LGBTQIA+ community went slowly from an accepted phase in a young person's life or a carnal vice to a moral, ethical, and criminal offence tried by the religious and other state authority until the early to mid 20th century, when the communities began highlighting the inequality and discrimination they faced. And then after 100 to 50 or so years later of protests and standing up for the right, the public opinion once again started to become more sympathetic and accepting in general, and anti-discrimination acts and laws started to appear for the LGBTQIA+ communities. So now that we're all caught up to modern history, we can actually talk about Pride as an event and concept. In our next episode, we will dive deeper into the events that occurred leading to the first official Pride event going into the late 20th century. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope to see you in the next episode. Hello my lovely unicorns, and thank you for dropping by today. I've been your lovely friend Jay, and if you want to see more of me in the future, and if you have not already, then feel free to smash that subscribe button. If you like the episode, feel free to like it and feel free to comment so I get to know your mind. And also, if you do get time, feel free to share it to your communities, such as your Discord communities, your WhatsApp communities, whoever you deem is worthy. But until next time guys, keep all that love in your heart and spread it out to all those, because God knows this world definitely needs it. Until then, I've been your friend Jay, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care.